All right, it says we are live. So hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. Hello, whatever you might happen to be watching this. I'm Kevin. And we've got Will Allred and Jeff Weber here to start. We may have a couple other surprise guest stars coming in, and I'm not going to say their name in case they don't. That way there isn't any no sins come upon thee for not making it on a Friday night. Will, before we start, let's celebrate a huge win. How about crossover division funding tonight?
Yes, we funded about an hour ago. We had I had my two private goals that I wanted to hit, and we hit over 6K, which was one of them, and over 200 backers, which was the other. So I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks, and thanks to all the backers, because it's awesome.
All right, so I did remember to put up the comment. So if anybody on Facebook or YouTube would like to pop in with a question, I should be able to see it. Shawnee, I see a congrats, Will, from Shawnee. So
Thanks,
can
Shawnee.
be seen. How are you?
And also
All right.
just say something in the chat so we know who's watching.
Yeah. All right. So, Jeff, the way we did this last week is we did a quick elevator pitch of all of our Kickstarters. And since you just launched this week, I say let's get an elevator pitch. But if you want to just kind of go in, I will see if I can remember how to share a screen. I'm still learning this. Okay. And if I can, I'll get to that page.
Okay, sure. All right. Well, here's the elevator pitch. This is for the comic book Bug Hunt. It's a sci-fi action adventure about a blue-collar pest control worker who mistakenly ends up on a space station that's being attacked by robot spiders, and his pest control extermination skills might just come in handy to help save everybody.
When I saw this pitch, I just was like arachnophobia in space. I mean, right?
Arachnophobia in space, yeah. Tremors in space. Any of those, where it's like sort of like the blue collar guy saves the day kind of stories, and he's kind of the reluctant hero for sure. A little bit of a roguish Indiana Jones, Han Solo type. A lot of comedy to go along with that action as well.
So you're doing the writing duties on this. You're not doing the art on this one, because I know Scientists, you did a lot of the art. You did the art, right?
The art for the Scientists. I am doing the coloring, the lettering, and I did that variant cover that's on there. So I'm doing art as needed. Okay.
All right.
Are you going to be printing it too, Jeff? I'm just curious.
I've got my printing press. I'm smearing the ink, but going out picking all the dyes.
So how did this series come into fruition? What's the backstory to Bug Hunt?
This is another script that came from Trent Beckett, my former co-writer who's no longer with us. He passed away in 2007. He was also the co-writer of my previous graphic novel, The Scientists. And since I felt that he was such his voice was such a big key to that success, I was kind of, before I sort of go off and do something that's a totally original idea, that's completely from my brain, I didn't want to completely abandon the well of projects that I had begun or completed with him. And I had Bug Hunt was one of a few of the other projects that I'd collaborated with him on. It was one that I had actually started with him back when we were teenagers. This was in 1997, so around 24 years ago. And
Wow.
we got maybe 50-60% of it written before we ran out of steam, and then got distracted by other shinier newer projects. When you're the creative, it's always that temptation to either finish what you're working on or get on the new one. And I think we gave in to the temptation of moving on to new things before we finished this one. And I always wished we had finished it, because I really thought we had something there. I really liked what we had gotten so far. So I learned a real lot about storytelling, about comic making over the course of making a 200-page graphic novel in The Scientists. And I really thought that this would be a great opportunity to take everything that I'd learned, all those comic making skills, and see if I could really take Bug Hunt and turn it into something special.
That's awesome. Well, we are joined by Joe Mulvey, Comic Stripe, so I'm going to welcome you in. Joe, how are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic.
Hey, Joe.
Kevin, you and I have met before in person, yes?
New York Comic Con, but
okay, your hair was much shorter.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but
You're like a spiky dew. Like I could be wrong, but your face is very familiar, but your hair seems off.
The hair is very off. This is my pandemic.
Mine. Don't judge it.
Yeah.
Don't judge it.
I call this my pandemic Jesus. I haven't got it cut since.
By the way, let's kickstart that as soon as possible.
It's of what do you really know about comics interview fame.
Yeah.
So you were like one of 9 people who still remember that, and I genuinely loved doing those interviews.
No, I was a faithful reader of that blog. I loved those series.
I appreciate it, man. Like, it was so weird because to have the actual conversation with people where like I wanted to do it live, and I think at a certain point, like, I had a conversation with a few different websites to do like a live show about it, because people were like, there's no way it's as awkward in writing as it is in person. And I'm like, I don't think you've met me. I would love the awkward. I would love that. Because the truth of it is like, look, we're like five, maybe like 6 years past it now. And like everyone has seen an Avengers movie. Everyone has seen an Iron Man movie. But at that time, people were like, no, yeah, I've seen like a few of the beginning movies. And then now it's not crazy to put a comic in someone's hand.
Yeah, the culture in terms of comics acceptance and their place in it has changed a lot. But one thing that really shone through in that interview series was just how much you loved talking to people. Like I really got like the sense that you were really like very, very opposite of me, very, very comfortable striking up a conversation. I'm very socially awkward, and I'm very much a wallflower until like I'm with a group of people that I feel comfortable around.
But I think like I can't tell you how many people I know that I live in New York. If my accent didn't give that away already.
Yeah.
And so many people are like, dude, you need to run for office, because I will go in, because I mean, this is not a political conversation, obviously, but I will go into a conversation and I don't care what political side you're on, and I will talk to you, and I have no ulterior motive but to just kind of like get to know a person better. And that was my genuine theory with what do you really know about comics? And the way, sorry, to anyone who's listening and doesn't know what this is, I did a accidental interview series years ago where I would go into job interviews as a graphic designer, and I would be reading comics, and all of a sudden I'd see people like kind of give me a side eye or kind of give me whatever. And then I couldn't help but be inquisitive of people's possible insinuations by me reading a comic, and I would have a conversation with them, and then that led to me kind of like just talking to people and saying, like, what do you really think comics are? Like, what do you really know about comics? And then I literally, the first one started out with me going to a graphic design job for like, I don't know if it was the DOJ or like some like court system in New York City, and the assistant or whoever it was that was working there saw me reading Scalped, and she was like, what are you reading? And I was like, I'm reading this comic. And she's like, oh, a comic? And like, she was very dismissive of it. And from that, I just had a conversation with her. I gave her like the other comics that just happened to be on my person at the time. And from that, I think I went back like 2 or 3 different times, and she ended up loving comics. And I was like, oh man, maybe I even went to Tyler James, the publisher of Comic Shop, and I'm like, I think I have something here. And he was like, yeah, he's like, you're the opposite. He's like, you have no uncomfortable zone. He's like, I've never had that. I'm like, I'm the opposite of that. But Jeff, in hearing like a few conversations you've had and interviews you've had, I don't think you're that different from me. I think you are very, very innovative and evocative, and you talk a lot. It's just right. You got to be in that comfort zone. My problem is I'm in a default comfort zone all the time because I don't give a flying rat's ass what most people think, and that makes me very comfortable to discuss stuff.
Are you sure you're from New York?
Yeah. Because it wasn't enough that my accent sounds like Minnie Mouse and Joe Pesci had a kid.
So I lived up in New York City for a little while, and my buddy Greg came up, and you only do anything touristy when someone visits you. He's like, I got to see the Wall Street Bowl. I said, well, I mean, all right, I've never seen it, but I know where Wall Street is. We'll take the subway down there. We're kind of walking around and in the general area, and I can't find it. And I'm like, I know it's here somewhere. So we see a cop, and I walk up to this cop, and I'm like, hey, where's the bowl? We want to see the bowl. And he goes, you take a right, you take a second right. You can't miss that big ass bitch. And I thought, I am so happy for Greg because that cop just gave him New York City. There was no reason whatsoever for that bitch, but he gave it to us. It was great.
The last New York Comic Con, I was at the Comic Tribe booth. I was in Artist Alley, and then I go to the Comic Tribe booth, and I'm doing a signing, and I said I can only be there till like 5:30, and I'm a diehard New York Rangers fan. And I said, it just so happened that the New York Rangers season home opener was at the same time as New York Comic Con. And I said, my family and I have all had tickets for 20 years, like season tickets. I'm like, I got to be there. I'm like, I'll do whatever you want after the show, but I got to be at the game with my family, my friend. Like, there's like 18 of us. So I am at the booth, and people see me throwing on the jersey and like getting ready to go to the game. Now I'm not face painting. I'm not doing anything. I'm just throwing on a jersey. As I run out the door, and by running out the door, that means 3,000 feet from where the table I'm at to get to, actual fresh air at the Javits. Maybe 6 people stopped me and were like, what are you dressed as? What are you dressed as? What are you dressed as? And I'm like, what?
Kevin Smith?
One guy grabs me and goes, I love the Goon, which is like a hockey movie or whatever. And he's like, what are you dressed as? I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to get out the door to go to the Ranger game. I'm just trying to get out the door. And I'm like, that's the great cross section of comics. Where I swear to God, I want to do a event where again, we have season tickets. I just say, hey, on a Kickstarter, one of the pledges is if you can get to New York, I will take you to a Rangers game with me. You'll have the greatest time ever because it's the weirdest thing. Hockey is a very weird thing. It's very much like comics. It's very niche, but you will meet so many people at an individual game. It'll blow your mind. I was at a game, and all of a sudden, and I apologize to the actor. I don't remember his name. The guy who was in Clerks with the goat, he was Dante.
Brian O'Halloran? Is that?
If you say it, I will agree, but that's right. He was sitting in front of me, and I'm like, "Are you the dude from Clerks?" And he's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "This is the weirdest world," because in a baseball stadium you have 30,000, 40,000 people. In a hockey stadium you have maybe 20,000 people, so you have a little bit more chance to run into people, just like a comic convention. Mm-hmm. But yes, I believe that comics and hockey very closely tied together, but at the same time, if you just talk to everybody, comics aren't that far out of purview for most people.
No, and as you said before, now everybody's seen the shows or the movies. There's a little bit more of you can lead them in. Did you guys watch the MODOK series on Hulu?
Not yet. No, I haven't.
Okay. I mean, it's absurd and really funny, and I think very much worth it. But they did. Patton Oswalt, and the executive producer of the show, also wrote a trade paperback called MODOK Head Games. It is the blueprint for taking somebody who's seen it on TV or a movie, giving them a comic that is true to the comics, but is also respectful of the show, and it is just a way into comics. So once you've seen MODOK, I do recommend reading that because it's the blueprint. It's the book to give people and say, you watch the show, read the comic. And I'm not saying there'll be a comic read the rest of their life, but it's that in. So I really recommend that.
But don't you think that TV does that also? Because if you think of and Shawnee Myers, if hockey is one of your favorite, a few sports you like, then you do want to follow the New York Rangers, and just become a fan, dude. It's gonna be, just listen to me. That's the only time my Twitter feed is like up to the minute and constant, when I'm complaining about the New York Rangers. The rest of the time, I'm just a very positive person putting out positive energy. But when the New York Rangers are on, I'm like, spouting horrible words that would probably get us thrown off YouTube. If I think that the Marvel ability to go to TV is that next step in getting people to just go to digital or comic shops, because it shows that people are, oh my God, I can't, like, my niece is 12 and is a diehard Loki fan now.
Mm-hmm.
12 years old and a Loki fan, just because she thinks he's funny and subversive. And she doesn't even know enough to say subversive, right? But like, it's not like Captain America where everything is like true blue, and like it's just like the same age as she is. Like, it's subversive, and it's like some things are uncomfortable, some things are okay, some things are whatever. And the fact that they can capitalize on that with a TV show, I think the next interim is just pouring those people over to comic books, which is literally a never-ending library, right?
I do agree, except for one thing. You have come and talked to us about all things, and I want to make sure that we get a chance to talk about Happy Hill, since you co-wrote and do all of the art. Is that correct? Because I looked at the credits and it said story by you and Rich, and then of course art by you.
Yes. Yeah. It's
all right.
Drawn and inked by me, and then co-created by myself and Rich.
Well,
and also co-written.
Do me a favor and start walking us through Happy Hill, and I will pull up the page to show people.
Sure.
Oh, Kevin, we've got another troll here. He's back again.
Charlie Stickney in the house.
Charlie Stickney's in the house.
Let me throw up that comment there while I do the screen. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
So Happy Hill, and by the way, Charlie Stickney, not only just being a nice person and a nice voice in comics, he has one of the best face pictures. Like, he has the best avatar and so many things. Like, I feel like right now, if I had no one else to rent my Airbnb to, I would give it to Charlie Stickney. He has such a happy, good-looking, trustworthy face. But yeah, Happy Hill is pretty much a destination vacation where you can go, leave all your troubles behind, ... forever. And the overall the pitch is pretty much like, imagine Willy Wonka meets The Shining. So it's this magical, wonderful place that, if you are willing and open to it, can be the most magical place in the world. And if you're not the greatest person ever, it might become more of a little bit of a nightmare for you. It's a right now ongoing series at Comics Tribe. Obviously, sales dictate the rest of it, but we're kickstarting the first issue now, and it's a super, super fun story. So if you like things in the vein of Edgar Wright's Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead, if you like subversive comedy with action, I think this is I think this is a book for everyone. Obviously, that's the reason we made it. Was like, even the Kickstarter that we have going right now, Tyler James, the head of Comics Tribe, had a genius, just because of shipping and logistics and costs. When you back for a physical copy, you're not getting one copy, you're getting two. And the best part of getting two is you get two variant covers by myself. So if you hate my art, okay, it's going to be rough. But if you like my art, it's going to be okay. And then on top of that, my theory is give that second issue to somebody. Like, I sincerely believe this is a book that, if your grandmother, who doesn't normally read books, still likes to go on a vacation every once in a while, your great aunt, your cousin, this is that kind of book, because I have drawn such luxurious settings that people will just look at this, even if you just like to watch the Travel Channel at home. And then, maybe later, there's some blood and gore and some crazy stuff that goes on. And there's a lot of jokes and there's a lot of fun. But I think this is a comic that Rich and I have hopefully made for everyone to at least enjoy some part of it.
No, I definitely think I got to read issue 1 actually, because I wanted to put it out in one of the Kickstarter updates. And what I liked about it is I feel like, and I have no idea which way you guys are going to go, I feel like there's about 6 ways you can go with this. And I'm excited to find out where, because you can lean into the gore, you can lean into the suspense, or you can lean into kind of the comedy that you were talking about. And there are these threads that I don't want you to spoil, because as a reader, I don't want you to spoil it. But I'm excited to see kind of, are you guys veering right, left, or where are you going with it? I think it's a really good first issue, because I'm intrigued with where it's going.
Dude, I genuinely appreciate that, because as a creator, I know how you can see steps ahead. And I want people to see steps ahead, but I also want them to see the same thing. I think the way, and to the credit of Rich Duick, who came on, that first issue was probably 40 pages originally, because I had added other subplots and drawn other pages, and Rich came in and completely undercut the PDF, and he was like, it's way stronger like this. And originally Rich was coming on editorially, and then I just started speaking with him so much because I trust him so much as a storyteller. And if you don't know Rich Duick, he wrote unbelievable books like Gutter Magic, Road of Bones, Sea of Sorrows.
Yeah.
He's done a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle book. He just did Superman.
Yeah. That was
stand out and phenomenal. And he just couldn't be a better person. He's a buddy. And from going back to him constantly, because sometimes as a writer or artist, I have almost like a tunnel vision where I don't trim enough of the fat. And he came in, trimmed all the fat, made this thing so tight, so perfect. And then we sit down, have a glass of wine, and sit on Skype for 2 hours, go over a script, and it's one of the most fun experiences as a creative I've ever had. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that about the first issue, and I hope it just gets more and more and more from consequent issues.
Yeah, no, I had a blast. So you were working on this. What came first? Did kind of your woodsman boogeyman character come first? Did the Willy Wonka world of the resort come first? How did you get led into this story?
I came up with the idea more of the Willy Wonka version of a. So pretty much Charlie and the Chocolate Factory meets The Shining was
Charlie Stickney in the Chocolate Factory, correct?
Charlie Stickney in the yes, you're right. You're right.
Gotcha.
And even you haven't seen it yet because the woodsman hasn't taken off the mask, but when he does, Charlie Stickney is under the mask.
Spoilers, man! Spoilers. You gotta go.
No, it's okay, but it's Dickney, Charlie Dickney, and I don't want to have any copyright issues.
Yeah.
But and then all of a sudden, as a creative person gets, you have this really just all of a sudden you go on a vacation, you go on a car ride, you go on, and inspiration strikes at different times. These things hit at different times, and all of a sudden, a different story started to form. And I grew up in Queens, New York, but I would vacation in the Catskills.
Okay.
And then when you were in the Catskills, you would hear all these especially if you vacationed in different areas. When I grew up, there was no Airbnb and Vrbo and stuff like that, but you would still rent houses, or we owned houses in certain areas or rented during the summer, and you'd hear all these local legends and all that kind of stuff. And as the story kind of progressed in my head, I kind of started working them all in together.
I'm going to interrupt you. Speaking of local legends, I guess Rich did make it. How are you, sir?
Hey, how's it going? Sorry I'm a little late.
Oh, no worries. Joe was just singing your praises. So
no, I wasn't. Don't lie to him.
Oh,
All right. When you watch it back, you're going to be very embarrassed by what he said. Go to our bed. Yeah. So Joe, you keep coming in and bring Rich in so you can talk, because we are talking about Happy Hill right now.
Well, I was just I was just finishing off the onus of bringing in the woodsman and how we all kind of came to get to the story of it. But I think that the most fun thing is, be it the Kickstarter, be it the direct market, be it however you get involved with the Woodsman or Happy Hill, I sincerely believe it's like one of those books that I can like stand on, like in 10, 15, 20 years, people will look back and be like, oh, that was a really cool book that asks a lot of questions that people had genuinely fun reading. And I think that's something that sometimes gets overlooked but underappreciated in comics, where, you know, like Greg Pak years ago said to me on the first book I ever did, Scam, and he was like, I really like this, and it's a lot of fun, and you're going to get crapped on for being fun. And to me, I want to put out a book that's fun. I want to put out a book that other people will want to, like, you know, look at it, read the book, check it out, and then put that in someone else's hand and be like, you got to read that. That's a lot of fun. Okay. I know now we have collector's mentality, so that's not as prevalent, but like, I think that's just kind of the same thing. Like, even in speaking with, you know, Big Dick Dewick, when he wrote that Superman book, I was in my LCS, and I remember being like, putting it in like just two strangers' hands, and being like, if you like Superman, if you don't like Superman, this is a book you got to check out, because it'll make you look at Superman in different ways, which is the benefit of like Batman Black and White, you know, Superman Red and Blue. Like, I think that's all the benefit of those books. But everyone looked at those stories and they just checked out like 1 or 2 pages of dialogue, and they picked up the book. And that is the blessing of the behemoth that is the talent Rich Dewick. So go ahead, Rich, start talking.
I've got a question for Rich based on what Joe said. He said you came on at first a bit more editorially, but as you started throwing your hat in the ring, he basically said, you know, I'd really kind of rather do this with you than just you as a supervisor. So how was that journey to go from kind of like Joe had all, he said like he had 40 pages and then you were able to chop it down. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because like Joe's been talking to me about Happy Hill for years, and just as like a story that he really wanted to tell, and I thought it was really awesome. But you know, he got in contact with me saying like, you know, he had all this stuff like for the first issue, and he just wasn't like loving how it was coming together. Like he felt like it was not as good as it could be. So I was just like, sure, man, you know, like I would love to take a look and let me see if I can, you know, help get you where you want to be. And I you know, I was just reading it, and it just sort of like just took shape in my head. I was like, well, you know, like maybe if we kind of trim this part or trim that part or leave this part until later, I think it might work like a little bit tighter. So what I did was I basically kind of like took the pages out and sent him back the PDF a little bit shorter. Yeah, and I was just like, you know, this is not going to line up perfectly, but just if you look at it like scene by scene, and if we take these scenes and kind of move them to issue 2, I think, you know, that's going to kind of get the tension that you feel is missing. So like for me, I was just really just trying to help Joe tell the story that he wanted to tell and have it be as amazing as we all knew it could be. So, you know, and I was not even looking at it as like an editor. It was just like something I would do like, you know, for a friend. But the more we talked about it, the more we kind of like started bouncing ideas off each other. And it just, at a certain point, like he just asked me like, you know, hey, you know, do you want to come on and co-write it? And I was just like, I think, Joe, I checked with you maybe like probably 50 or 60 times, like just being like, all right, like I'd love to do this, but I want to tell your story. Like I want this to be like, you know, this is like Joe Mulvey and Rich Dewick telling Joe Mulvey's Happy Hill. Like, you know, like,
right.
I can't find the filter right now, but there should be hearts pouring out of my eyes. But the truth of it is like he came in and that's true. Like I said before, I have tunnel vision. And then Rich cut to the core of it and was like, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is right. And that's what I appreciate because I'm not sensitive about anything. Like Rich will tell you, I will send him a disturbing amount of character design because I'm always like, I almost like over second guess myself. I'm like, no, maybe this should be here. Maybe that should be there. But as a storyteller, I think I try to put too much into everything. And like Rich came in, cut the fat of my ideas. Like, you know what? This subplot doesn't matter. Move this over here, move that over there. And I loved it. And like when he said he like moved around the PDF, I literally was like, I mean, like stars in my eyes. Oh my God, that makes every issue I had with it, he fixed.
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, forget about like helping me out. Like you need to co-write this with me. Like you're making it what I want it to be.
I'm raising it, Luca.
You know, and I was just too close to it to see it. And I think that's the best part of like a really good collaborative, you know, team is that you can do that and whatever. Like I think, and I haven't worked with enough people to know, you know, nuances because I'm not a subtle human being. I'm very blunt and I appreciate that. But like Rich, you know, he you know, scratches all the itches I have for like being a creative partner. And like when it was my own thing that I was way too precious about in the beginning, he kind of cut through all of it and just made it sing all the way through.
But it sounds like you guys put your egos to the side for the project, though. I mean, it sounds like you're doing nothing except what's for the best for the project, even though you said you had, you know, tunnel vision on it. As soon as somebody showed you a different way to look at it, you saw it. So, I mean, I know Tyler runs a very ego-free publishing company, which, you know, stuff like that, you know, extends from the top to all of the creators, which is kind of nice to hear you guys saying that because I see it from the side.
No. Look, the one thing that's not said enough about Comics Tribe is that they're pretty much the best dealing comics next to Image. They you know, right now they don't have the same, you know, I think they don't have the same viewpoint where, you know, PR and all this other stuff. But the truth of it is like, you're not going to be able to find a better creative publisher and be able to own as much of your IP as possible as you will with Comics Tribe. Comics Tribe nurtures you, they carry you along, they help you, they develop with you, and they don't come back and say, we want 50% of the IP. And to me, like as a creator who pours his heart and soul into everything he does, that's very, 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 you know, enticing to me.
Yeah, and they run amazing Kickstarters too.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I mean, like I give Joel a lot of credit for taking the input on Happy Hill because it's not like, you know, it's one thing if you write a script and somebody says like, you know, cut this page, like, you know, Joe drew all these pages and like, and I'm saying like, you kind of don't need these, you can cut them. And it's like the amount of work that he put into those pages to just be able to say, you know what, you're right. They're not working and I'm going to put them aside. That is like so impressive to me because, you know, I can't do what Joe does as far as art goes. And just the fact that he put all that work into it and was, you know, still able to say like, it's going to make a better book if we put these pages to the side is just, you know, just speaks to like what kind of a person he is, what kind of a collaborator he is, and what kind of a creator he is.
Just say it, Duick. A real bag of shit. Just say it.
No,
If
the
you
best.
aren't a real bag of shit, you're not in comics. I mean, come on now, guys.
Thank you, KJ. By the way, KJ should be your name.
One thing I want to point out about Happy Hill and a strength of Joe's is just how great he is at coming up with those like iconic and memorable looking characters, like with the Woodsman on Happy Hill or the Head Taker in Wailing Blade. One thing I think maybe with Happy Hill is that it reminds me of is a character that you're gonna want to that you're probably gonna be seeing people wanting to cosplay. Maybe even more so than the head taker. I don't know if people are jacked enough to play the head taker.
Yeah, dude, let me tell you something. Like the head taker garb, I would love to see someone, have. But I feel like if Comic Tribe sold, and this is more pressure on Comic Tribe, if they just sold like inflatable swords, it would be a lot easier for people to cosplay the costume, because that costume is definitely a little bit unforgiving. But
we had a cosplay sword made for the Wailing Blade. And it was heavy as shit.
It was very heavy. But it was wood. It was wood.
It was a chore.
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to fabricate a inflatable Wailing Blade with the 9,000 angles on that thing?
Dude,
If anybody can do it, Tyler can.
The second volume of Wailing Blade that's coming. We have a plan for why those angles are the way they are. Like, it's going to be good. But shout out to Sean Kirkham from Skybound. The only one human being on this planet, and that place, that sword went to, Baltimore, New York, was it Seattle? It went all over. He was the only one human being that could lift it one-handed.
Wow.
Like clear over his head too. Like
over his head, where I even said to Rich, if that MFer drops it, I'm pretty sure we're on the hook for the deaths that it caused. And he did not.
I do have to stop for a moment. We cannot have a kitty cat on screen without name. Come on, we got to introduce us, Jeff.
Oh, this is Leo.
All right.
You're adorable.
I know what the audience wants.
And I think I saw one run behind Rich.
One behind Rich. Yeah.
That was Izzy. I have two, Izzy and Tasha, but Tasha's very shy, so you're probably not going to see her.
Okay, so Jeff, we've been talking a whole lot about the working partnership. Now, you talked a little bit about your friend who has unfortunately passed. How do you work with the artists? You have a script that's just basically there, and they work on their own. What's the collaboration for Bug Hunt?
Well, I found a great collaborator in Joe Wong, who he had previously done a graphic novel for Tyler Carpenter called Entity, which was another sci-fi graphic novel. So I had a sense that he could handle the genre, and he's great at, oh god.
Oh, did we get a dog? Because I got to see a dog. No, darn it. All right, we'll go back to the screen. Sorry.
I got two dogs, and
okay.
One of them is easily triggered. And actually three dogs, but two are here. But Joe Wong is great at filling in lots of details in the background, which I love, especially in a sci-fi book where you got those sci-fi corridors and stuff like that. Somebody that doesn't shy away from the details, that's crucial. But what we ended up doing, and I tried a few different things, and the way that ended up working best was I'm drawing, and I know this is kind of uncommon, but I'm drawing a thumbnail page layout that I hand off to him. So
okay.
So because I do have a comic drawing background, I found that was a lot easier for me to convey what I wanted that way than to write out a page of text trying to just describe everything as well as I could. So the script is very bare bones. It's just like very, very minimal description, just mostly just the dialogue and what what little action I need to put in there, and then I put everything into the thumbnail page layout, and I hand it up to him, and then he brings it to life.
That's really cool.
So it's been working pretty good so far. Doing it that way, and I found a lot of times when you're working with somebody, especially when English isn't their first language, sometimes there's been communication breakdowns between the writer and the artist, or they don't quite know what you're going for. So doing it this way, he's nailed it every time.
That's neat. Doing great, Joey. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Kevin, don't you kind of draw out some thumbnails for Ludo?
I don't draw out thumbnails for him. I do write specifically in thumbnails. So when I've got an issue, I just number 1 to 24, and I draw out the story that I think we're going to tell in the absolute worst. I mean, I can have 6 panels, and there can be 3 stick figures in panel 2, and everything else is just written like Tart walks through the door. But it still lets me see on the page how much space I have and how much space I'm using. And then kind of I get to like page 18 and I'm like, all right, I'm done. Crap, I need to fill in something here. Or I'm on page 18 and this is the preamble. What did I do? And then I start over. So it just gives me a sense of how much space I really have for the story we're trying to tell. But you're talking about the languages. Ludo and I have he makes changes whenever he wants to because he's the artist and I'm a writer. And that's our deal because he knows how to tell it visually and I don't. But sometimes he just misreads a word. In Tart 11, we were back in Nazi Germany and I wanted an FU to the kind of the Nazi regalia. So I wrote in there that there's 4 birds being flipped off to be the swastika. And he misinterpreted that and drew doves of peace, 4 doves of peace for his swastika. And I looked at it and I went, that's so beautiful. And it's so much better than my kind of sophomoric FU. And I asked him, was that just you thinking or was that a mistranslation? He said, I didn't know what you were talking about. So I just drew birds. So yeah, I understand the language barrier. It's fun.
Can I share a quick example? Is that all right?
Of course.
Yeah, I'm going to click share screen.
If you can, I don't know how to do this.
All right, let's see if this works. All right. See if this doesn't break down.
Thank you, Shawnee. I loved it too, but it was totally on accident.
All right. So are you guys seeing my screen right now?
There we go. Yes.
All right. So here is an example of a thumbnail that I drew. So this is a page of the main character Blake, and in the top panel he's talking to his pet ferret, and then he's looking out the window in amazement at the space station, and he's flying into the landing dock, and then getting off the ship. Then the power goes out, and he's in the dark, and then comes back on. He's kind of muttering to himself. And then, so then this is what Joe did from that. So you can kind of see how he follows along from what I was doing.
No, that's
cool.
Yeah, that's a cool, different process. I like that.
So that's the process that we've been working out. It's been working pretty good so far. And that's one of the pieces that I am going to be including. How the whole digital deluxe as a reward tier has been. I don't know where that came from, but that's been going strong for a while now. And so on my digital deluxe, it's going to feature all of my page layouts.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool.
You get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes on how we put it together.
We just do that.
Curiosity, do you go back and forth with the artist, or is it just kind of like you lay down the layouts and then they just kind of follow through?
Yeah, I just lay it down and then he does it. Yeah,
Very cool.
Just a 2-step process. And
does he have the freedom to kind of go crazy, or are you a tax Ed Brewbreaker? I write this page and you draw it.
I have always encouraged him to apply his own artistic vision wherever possible, but I think he likes the way I'm laying it out, so he's been sticking pretty close to it so far. But it's not.
By the way, those were Ed Brewbreaker's words, not mine.
Well, let me just as the main artist in the group, I'll tell you right now. I could be wrong, but I think layouts is 99% of the work.
Hmm.
Like, so if you give someone especially if someone you hire, like you give them that hands up and say, it's just like any other art directing job. Like you say, hey, here's how I want the camera angle. Here's how I want this. Here's how I want that. You do take a lot of, mental energy out of the process, and you just go, okay, I just got to follow, this guideline that was given to me. I mean, I've done jobs like that, and there is a sense of, release. You're like, I don't have to worry about it. I just have to go through with what my client wants and what, and I think there's something to that. Like, specifically if you see a vision as the writer in your head,
Yeah.
I think that's almost more beneficial to the artist than, detrimental.
Yeah. I think very visually. So, when I picture it, I picture it like in my head a certain way. And, I want to kind of convey what I'm seeing to the artist. So that's the best way I know how to convey it.
Yeah.
And
how much do you put in, Will? How much do you put in of like camera directions or?
I started weird because with Diary, I would say this is a 3-tier, there's going to be 2 panels in the first tier, and to his credit, Gene Gonzalez, drew the heck out of it and would make changes, where he needed. And then I think Rich and I were even, I don't know if we were in the same class, but I know we were in the Comics Experience Creators Forum at the same time. I got a good class with Andy Schmidt on, the intro to writing, because I was just kind of making it up as I went. And
that's what writing is, Will.
Yeah. But I started pulling back and just saying, this is kind of what I see, and get out of the way of the artist, because they are, 99.9 times out of 100, they're going to be able to do it better than I could have ever envisioned it. Unless there's something specific, like the camera angle needs to be a certain way because we're setting something up later, and then I'll explain that, and they'll probably come up with a better way to do it anyway too. So
right.
It's really about, in my mind, getting out of the way of the artist. Just saying, hey, this is where I think we're going. Get us there, because I'll stay out of your way.
A lot of times I'll try to say, this is the feeling we're going for. And then I'll say my layout is blank, 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 and blank. And then Ludo will send me something that is so true to the feeling, but and pretty true to the motion of the page, but is in a completely different layout than I would have expected. And it's, as you said, 99% of the time it's better. And the 1% it's not, it's because of a translation issue. So, one time I had, kids running away from Tart scared, and he mistranslated and had the kids running at her. And I decided, these characters are more violent than I expected. Guess what? That's the way we're writing this story, When he painted the pages, we were going to stick with the what he painted. When he draws, I can ask for changes, but painting, I'm going to go with him.
One thing I've started.
Kevin, I'm sorry. The biggest thing to me is, like, as an artist, is to get a script, and Rich has done it before, obviously, with Wailing Blade, where I get excited to go to the drawing board. Like to me, I read a script, and it takes normally like 2 to 3 times before I start seeing it in my head as like a visual movie or animated sequence or whatever. And that's just me. I'm sure other people are different. But like, when you have to do that through a translation process, like, do you even write differently for that? Like, because I feel like, are there nuances that are like kind of, something that you have to like kind of dance around to get to that?
He does speak English as a second language, so
I don't judge.
So I'm pretty lucky in that he can speak English quite well, but in reading there will, whenever I use a turn of a phrase or kind of just jargon that I kind of expect everybody to know,
Right.
that's where we run into trouble. So I do my best to remember that, and I don't go for the quick little, the easy offs things.
Yeah,
I actually explain what's happening in a panel as opposed to saying, "Oh God," I'm like, like Travolta and Uma dancing. I can't say that. I have to say, all right, they're doing the twist. I want to evoke the image from, and then I'll go pick a photo of Jackrabbit Slims and put it in the script if that's what I was going to do. So I'm a little more verbose about things like that. I can't use shorthand that I would with somebody with English as a first language, but I think that's really good because, I mean, I'm 46. So if I was writing for a 20-year-old artist, I mean, my references would probably be off anyway. So I probably should just write what's on the page and not.
Let me just say this. Let's go back to your age dropping.
Yeah.
You look phenomenal.
By the way, I brought Joe on just for the compliment. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, you look. I'm 29, but I look 72. So I cut the middle and I tell everyone I'm 54, and no matter what, it's fine. But like when you work with an artist that doesn't have English as the first language,
mm-hmm.
do you almost like, I don't want to say like water down, but do you like have to like trim down your script so that you know that every single word matters, every single word counts, and you can land the most effective story points as fast as possible? The
answer is I probably should, but no.
Okay.
I just write a letter to him, and if he doesn't understand it, he asks. It's just
in the reverse. When I work with Rich, even on Happy Hill, which we co-write, he sends me scripts in Norwegian. And I think that's borderline disrespectful. But he says, if you really care about this book, you'll go get a dictionary. And I think he says the word prick. I don't know because it's Norwegian again, but I have to go look at it.
So the woodsman is supposed to be spelled.
Go.
Yeah, the woodsman.
Yeah, woodsman. And
woodsman.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about doing the process that I'm doing for Bug Hunt is it does take me some time to, think out how I want the page to look visually and put it into a layout form. And I didn't have it all pre-done when I started this. I was doing it page by page as I was sending it to Joe. And,
oh, wow.
And I did run into a situation where, and this is probably the first time that this has ever happened in comics, where the artist was faster than the writer.
No, that does happen. It's called Mark Bagley and John Romita Jr., but it does happen.
So there were, I can't tell you how many times it happened where he would finish 2 pages and be like, "Okay, where's the next pages?" And I'd be like, "Working on it."
Instead of one panel.
Yeah, here's one panel. Yeah. With Pablo, he does not speak English, so I have found myself using plainer language when I describe the panels, and I at least think about, well, how's this going to translate? Because I will meander on occasion, so I try to cut that out, and it's from it comes into play in the panel descriptions. When I start talking, dialogue or captions, I've got into the habit of counting, words. I read the interview with Alan Moore, where he said, "Hey, I used the old school Superman comics and I counted up this is many words per page, max words per bubble, and average per panel and things like that." And the other reason I think I started doing that was I took the lettering class for Comics Experience with Dave Sharp, which was awesome because first off, I can't letter. I mean, I know how to, but I don't do it well. But just thinking about those as graphic elements so that I don't dump too much on the letterer, at the end is just, I feel like it's really helped, the scripts. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I want to get, but I'm writing another script right now with no artist attached to it. And I'm going crazy with, commas and all this stuff in the descriptions. So yeah, I really think it's something that I am aware of writing for Pablo though, because he doesn't,
But I'll tell you something right now. Like, I do not think enough people, especially when they're putting out their initial works, give enough credit to lettering. Because I'll tell you right now, one of the accidental greatest things of my entire career in comics is working with good letterers.
Yeah.
In Wanley Blade, we had Taylor Esposito. On Happy Hill, we have Hassan Atsame. No, screwing up his name.
Hassan Atzman Elhau.
There you go, Hassan Atzman Elhau. And what Hassan has done in this series is like transformative. Like, he sent me the pages several different ways. And he was like, what do you think about this cool like panel, like the layout of even just the basic description of setting? And he did this cool thing. We have like in the first issue, we have this circular tar roadway up to the main house of Happy Hill. And he did like the whole setting on like this bent turn going up to it. Was unbelievable. And that's like talking about like people who are next level. If you're starting out level and you're doing like really like, oh, I think I could do it myself and I could kind of chintz on this one little part of it, you immediately come off as a lesser than product just because of that. The lettering is the first thing that people should feel comfortable with from the start.
I have two pieces of advice based on what we did wrong when we started. The first is short is your friend. Don't come up with your epic, because we all thought we needed Sandman when we started, and that's a bad idea.
As a 5'9" gentleman, I agree with that.
Yeah. short is your friend.
Is your friend, yes.
So 4-page shorts, 5-page shorts, one shots, or limited series. That's what you want to start with. But the second one is, there is no amount of money you can invest in your book that pays off quicker than hiring a professional letterer.
Can I just take one quick moment to say thank you to Charlie Stickney, Will Allred, Shawnee M, and Joe Mulvey for pledging to Bug Hunt while we've been talking.
That's beautiful.
Wait, I pledged? I got hacked. Yes, I did.
No, let's just look at that bio picture though. Joe's right. That's a good looking bio picture.
5'9" seems very tall and very manly to me. Charlie Stickney, I don't want to say anything, but if I was in Tinder, I would swipe right. You are a friend, my man. You are a gentleman.
You know what? That's awesome, Jeff. That's kind of, we're doing this because it's fun for me, but we're talking about the Kickstarter campaigns. We are about to get to midnight. That's about an hour. I am happy to go a little longer if you guys want, but before we do that, why don't Jeff, why don't you talk about Bug Hunt one more time, so that if people have to go to bed, they can, and we'll get back to Happy Hill. And so tell us about Bug Hunt one more time, buddy.
Talking about Bug Hunt, but if anyone's listening has to go to bed, just know that you're quitting. You're giving up on all of this, and you're kind of not really putting in that extra effort to hang out with some bugs.
Sure.
Do not quit on us, but if you back all of our campaigns, we will forgive you.
Yes.
If you get to my page, take a moment to watch the video. I actually hired a voice actor to do the little preview section of the video, and
did he sound like Joe Pesci and Minnie Mouse had a kid?
You okay? Does the sound come through?
I'm not hearing the sound, but it's a fun little quick preview. And other than that, I got some nice little rewards for this. I have an animated flip book that I'm putting together right now, and I also am doing a few different parts in the book where backers can have cameos in the book, as playing some of the various background characters. There's a scene at a bar, there's a scene at the arrivals port, scene at the train station. If you want to be one of the space station residents, you can pledge for that.
So if you've ever wanted to go to space, this is your chance.
Yeah.
For
You don't have to
$99?
be a billionaire to do it.
I was gonna say way cheaper than Bezos would have even offered.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't accept Bezos. Take his money.
I wouldn't either,
I
but if he
wouldn't-
wanted to do
No,
10,000, he
Bezos,
could get
If
in.
you're out there, I will accept your money. No problem.
And if you get a commission, I'll even send you a robot bug.
Yeah.
This is very important. Joe and I are not cheap, but we can be bought.
Oh, easily. I am so buyoutable. I'm very easy with that.
The two Josephs. All right, so I'm going to pull up Happy Hill, and you guys give us another talk about what's your favorite reward that you guys have. There's two of you, so you each get to do one.
All right, you go first, handsome. You go ahead.
That was you, Rich. You're the handsome one.
You're the handsome.
I know Will was
I think-
about to jump in. I know Will.
He did.
He's like,
I know, I
handsome,
saw
I'm
it.
here.
I saw it.
I think my favorite reward, I would go big and say the one where you get to get yourself drawn into the book
Damn it,
and
that's mine.
probably killed, because just watching Joe draw people is amazing, and the way the ideas he has for how to murder all these fine people are also quite imaginative. I don't even really have to do much work on that front. So
If you're drawn in, are you murdered or do you have a choice?
That is a great question, because normally, I mean, I'm not going to lie, you're going to get messed up in this series, but that is a good, like, you could just be in the background. Like, we have a lot of people who enjoy imbibing certain liquids, and they get to have a good time in Happy Hill. So you know what? That's true. We never thought of that. I'll be honest with you. The people who bought in want to get killed, which is even weirder.
Getting
no,
killed.
when we did like a similar thing for Wailing Blade, where it was like literally Tyler called it the "kill me rich" like level or something. It was like I just
Very direct.
I wrote just short stories about you got to pick the executioner, and then I would say how and why they killed you. It's pretty fun.
Oh man, and I have a story that's private to someone else. I'm going to keep that one in. So the good news is I haven't had enough of this to spill somebody else's secret. If we go to one, if we go to one, I make no promises.
By the way, Kevin, let's just say this. Let's just say someone made a book or a story where if you were on the grounds of that resort, again, I'm not going to name the names. I don't want to give away too much. And you drank more than you've ever drank before, and you really put it away that night.
Mm-hmm.
But the next morning you woke up and you felt better than you've ever felt. Wouldn't you want to go there for a vacation?
I'm gonna hold that thought until I've read Happy Hill number. How many issues is this?
Right now, the outline is for 72, but I don't want to get deep on it. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna hold my answer until I read 72, because as I said to you, I see a couple threads going right, left, forward, backwards, and I'm gonna wait to see which threads the creators go down before I answer that question.
All right. Being pragmatic, I appreciate that.
What makes me intrigued after having read issue 1 is I see 90 ways you can go, and I don't know what you're choosing, and I would be satisfied with all 90. And that's what I'll say about it. Okay. And I don't know where you're going, and I think that's fun.
I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
that's the like I think that's the real big hope, especially from creatives, right? Like when you give them to them, and and I'm not name dropping, but like Ethan Sachs, who's a big Marvel writer and like wrote for many news outlets, and he said the same thing. He was like, "Man, I could see like a whole bunch of other ways that you're gonna go, and I don't know how you're gonna go, and that makes me excited to pick up issue 2." And I think as just a person who loves comics, I feel like, especially if you were in a digital age, or even if you were in like some sort of weird, um, super advantageous regular printing age, and you could say, "Oh, I go into the store and I pick up, Bug Hunt #1, and I'm out of my mind about Bug Hunt #1." And then I finish Bug Hunt #1 and I run back to the store and I go, "I want Bug Hunt #2." And they go, "Doesn't come out for a month." And it's like $4 when it comes out in a month. But if you want it right now, it's $10. Here's my $10. I think there's something to that immediate satisfaction of storytelling that would obviously be, down the road. Maybe that's what's going to happen with, digital or however print or however, distribution changes, or, it makes some sort of switch in the future. But just as a storyteller, I appreciate when I tell a story and Rich and I tell a story, and like people put down that first issue and then they go, "I immediately want to see where #2 goes." I think that's, it's the hook, right? Like you want that hook to be so powerful that people want #2 immediately.
Yeah. How far are you on issue 2?
It's done.
It's done. How many issues do you have in the can?
I'm like 3 off of issue 3.
Okay.
So, that's done. And then the initial arc will be 5 issues. And then really, it'll all 100% be dependent upon sales. So if sales come in above a certain number, then we know we can, go maybe 6,
roll
8,
right
10,
in.
12.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Cool.
Are you going to do like what you did with Wailing Blade and go to the direct market for the future issues, and then come back to Kickstarter for the graphic novel?
That's the tentative plan. Yes.
What?
Because like the sleeping giant in the room is Rich Duick. He is a sales magnet right now. He's one of the hottest writers in comics. So like we're hoping that with tying his name onto it and like having him be part of the project, it boosts sales and all that stuff.
And if it doesn't, it's all Rich's fault.
Well, I don't want to say that out loud, but at the same time, yes. But no, I just think it is what it is. Like, I mean, what Rich brings to it fundamentally is beyond anything I could have delivered as a singular creator. And I think that's the best part of comics. Like, I know I see a lot of times, like, writer artists saying they want to do everything themselves. And I get that. And I've done it myself. And at the same time, I want to work with people who are better than me. And I feel like Rich is better than me, and he makes me a better writer, and he makes me a better creator, and he's just a good person, and he's a buddy, and I enjoy hanging out with him.
Nobody's better than you, Joe. Come on.
No, listen to me. I didn't say oyster eater or beer drinker. I said, but you are, dude. You're like, I don't know why there's any issue with that. I think you're just a great comic creator.
Well, thank you.
You don't have to talk, but at the same time, like,
writers are to sit down and shut up, Rich.
Just supposed to look pretty.
Yeah, he is, and like, I think collaboration is what makes comics great. Like that's what makes the whole thing sing. I'm not saying that Frank Miller, Neil Adams, Sean Murphy. I'm trying to think of people who do like everything themselves.
Walter Simonson.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with Mike Mignola. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of it. I'm just on the side of like I like working with other people because I don't know everything yet, and they make me appreciate other aspects of the medium, and they make me better at it. And at the same time, like I'm not precious, so like I like when other people beat me up on my work because it makes me be better. Because I've still never hit that level where I feel like I look at my work and I'm like, yes, that's what I should be. I look at my work and be like, nope, I'm nowhere near. Like quietly, Olivia Coipel, Humberto Ramos. I'm not anywhere near this kind of art stuff. So working with better people to me is just the way to make yourself better.
No, I think I agree wholeheartedly. It's the in working with an artist in France, and like I think Will has this. Where's your artist, Will?
Argentina.
Not okay. So time zone might not come and play here. So if Ludo and I are going back and forth in email, so my wife will go to bed at about 11. I'll type something up for the next 2 hours. I email it to him. I go to sleep and I wake up and there's an email back of, his first drawings of what I sent him. And it's like, I went to sleep and these elves cobbled shoes in the night for me. And it's this amazing thing. And because Ludo's breathtakingly good, it's always better than I wrote. But it's also like this amazing thing where like I go to sleep and work happens. So I guess I'm saying wherever you are in the world, work with someone 7 hours ahead of you. If you can ever. So Rich, you got to move to either England or Germany France. Or something.
Norway.
I'll ship Joe there. It'll be cheaper.
I would love to go to Norway. I would be so good. Or even like Canada. Just send me like 2 or 3 hours different.
Danny, we'll sell all the Comics Tribe and Scout Comics and Source Point comics we can get. We'll put them all through your shop. The Collective, I got to see his shop in Altamont Springs last week. It's a great. If you guys are in Orlando, you gotta visit the Collective. Danny runs a great shop.
I'm going to be in Orlando in February,
and I agree very wholeheartedly with Joe in terms of loving working in a collaborative way. It's been a very different experience doing Bug Hunt this time as part of a group effort as opposed to the scientists, which was sort of a one-man band on that. And I think the proof is in the pudding. If you take a look at the results, it took me 15 years to do the scientists, and this issue of Bug Hunt has come together in just a handful of months.
That's beautiful. That's neat.
Oh,
but it's neat that you finished the scientists. I mean, let's take a moment and just express how cool that is that you took this thing that you had worked off with your friend and you had dealt with your grieving process and you wanted to respect him and you drew, how many pages was that? 120?
180.
180 pages for your friend. I mean, that is, I don't have a hat on, but if
I was going to say that.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So, yeah, Danny said they sold Sea of Sorrows quite well. You need some Rhoda Bones trade paperbacks, right?
Hold on, Danny. Was it just the Joe Mulvey variant, or did the whole series? Just out of curiosity, because I know that Joe Mulvey variant was fire. It was fire.
Yeah, no, the CSR's trade's going to be out in I think October, like second week of October, something like that.
Just in time for Halloween.
Actually, Joe, I think you came up 2 weeks ago. You did a variant for Dust Pirates, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Bob was taking us through all the different variants, and
he got so many cool variants for that.
Yeah, you had some competition on that one. I'm not.
No, I got blown away. Jason Copland, I thought his was like out of this world. I think Liana Congas did one too.
There were 5 good covers on that comic.
And then there was mine. Mine
was
mine was the worst of all of them, and I'm saying this as an artist. Mine was not as good as the rest. But listen to me. You take your defeats when you take your defeats. Next time, Dust Pirates 2, I'm going to smoke all those fools.
All right. It's okay to come in 5th in the Olympics, right? You're in the Olympics.
Yes. Now you're going to try to get me into another political conversation. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
No, I loved your CSRO's variant, Joe. And everyone I showed it to thought it was amazing too. So just do that, but just with dust instead of water.
Thank you so much. Thank you for saying that. You're right. Do that cover, but with dude. See what I'm saying? When I talk,
It,
things like
it'd
that.
save you so much work if every one of your covers was the same one.
Yeah, I did you see? By the way, and this is an inside thing here. We're doing a New York Comic Con exclusive cover, and I sent it to Rich. Did you see it today? The layout or no? Hold on, he's doing it right now.
Doing it right
He's doing
now.
it right now as we speak. I sent you a layout. Hello, David.
David, how are you,
Hey,
sir?
David.
David's got a steak Kickstarter launching. Put the date of the launch in there. We're gonna have you on here to talk about steak when you're live. All right, buddy?
Hold on, is it STAKE or STAK?
Steak as in vampire steak, not
Oh,
not
I got
beef
really
steak.
excited because I am a huge fan of steak. Okay, either way.
Yeah, it looks awesome, Joe.
All right, so we're gonna go. Do you think we should go with that or no?
Yeah, I think we should. It's
Yeah, seriously, guys,
I'm
if this isn't an exclusive to our show, stop talking about it. If you're going to share
hold
your
on.
screen,
Hold on,
if you're going to share your screen,
No, I'm in my studio.
then we're going to do
I'll
it.
even show it to you. It's on
Yeah.
my scanner. Hold on. We're just gonna. And by the way, that green thing behind me is all right. So here is the. Oh no, that's not it. Sorry, take it back. That was another thing because I don't always. You know,
So August 3rd for steak as Joe gets his camera set up right.
yeah, no, well, I'm just gonna show you. So if you go to New York Comic Con, you might see this is the layout. Ooh, there we go.
Let me see if I can get you on
There we
alone.
go. That's the layout. Yeah, I'm gonna put it on my art desk. There we go.
And that's me.
No, that's you. You look great. You do look great. No matter what.
Thank you. You're my
That's
only
it.
fan.
That's a win.
Let me mute myself.
Oh my God, this is an OnlyFan thing. This I got so dirty. Hold on, there we go. So that's gonna be the layout of the New York Comic Con. If you can't make it out, I'm sorry. It's not the cleanest, but it's very sketchy. But that's gonna be the woodsman just kind of like leaning into just crazy blood and guts all over the place. So it'll be fun. So there you go. Little exclusive. All good. I have this nice little office chair I get to sit in. It's nice. I have horrible
Rich-
glasses, which will be changed.
Rich just got to experience the best thing about writing for comics: art emails. Is there anything better? There's nothing better than art emails.
no.
Love to get those art emails.
Yeah, no. The only reason that I didn't see it is because Joe was also in the same thread talking about drinking all his margaritas, and
I
it kind
did start at 6 p.m. drinking margaritas. Not gonna lie.
pushed the art above.
I'm an honest human being.
Yeah.
My work dinner was canceled. I came home. My wife was having a Jungle Cruise house party.
Nice.
My entire house is tiki barred out, and I got home and there was margaritas. You know what? I'm not going to say no to them. I'm not an animal. You know what I mean? And just because I can drink at this point 8 to 10 margaritas and still be okay with it, I'm not gonna knock it. You know?
So I got a question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
If you could drink the most margaritas of your entire life,
Sure. Tonight,
And wake up the next morning.
and I'll feel fine.
Feel great.
I'll tell you right now. My wife has gluten allergies. We used to have a kegerator. Well, we still have it in the basement. But once she got off of like gluten and beer wasn't a big thing, alcohol has been a whole different thing. Like I could drink 2-3 bottles of wine, wake up in the morning. Like I'll wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, make breakfast, all that stuff. So I don't know, like whatever's in beer and whatever's in like brown alcohol, not for me. But if you stick to tequila and wine, I'm fine.
tequila. If,
It rhymes. Okay.
yeah. It took me a long time to find the right tequila, but now I love me tequila.
The rocks tequila.
Is that a specific kind or just like
There's a
drinking it
name
on the
for it.
rocks?
I don't know, but you know what? My wife is on a thread of like a whole bunch of people who are gluten free and like have celiacs and all that stuff. And supposedly, like with whatever the no matter what, tequila is like gluten free, but like his is supposedly really, really clean.
Oh, The Rock, the actor. Okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I have not. I was like, I drink tequila on the rocks, but I don't know if that's
No,
special.
yeah. You know what? Because I just saw the Jungle Cruise. I was all rocked in.
I feel like there's like tons of actors that have tequilas now. It's like a trend or something.
You know,
Dan Aykroyd's
you know what I
tequila is
want?
pretty
I
good.
want Walton Goggins whiskey.
Mm.
Walton Goggins has a whiskey, and I want that.
But here's the thing: whiskey is brown, and it lets the devil out. I'm not allowed to have that. But as long as it's clear, I'm in.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, Shauna.
I heard,
It'll be
Yeah,
shots.
I agree. Well, I can still have beer. I don't have any problem with that. But I'll tell you right now, wine's like almost like a get out of jail free card.
I
can drink
heard
no problem.
I heard an ad on the radio. It was like Metallica was making a whiskey now, and I was like, Metallica's making. Didn't they make a whole documentary about like how they were struggling with alcohol and like?
The struggle was selling it.
I was just,
I was going to
It's a
say
little
I think
odd.
a little bit of the struggle of
Yeah.
of the ism when you get like famous is that everyone gives it to you.
right.
When
Yeah.
you go into a place and you're like, how much is Patron? Oh, $16 a shot. You know what? I'm gonna have water.
Do we want to stay having fun, or do you want a downer story?
You know what? You give the downer story. I'll bring it back to fun.
Chris Farley tried to get off of everything, but the reason he couldn't is he was such a people pleaser. He'd go out and he'd just be order of water, and by the time the second person had tried to buy him a shot, he felt like he was letting him down, and so he couldn't say no, letting somebody down, and then he'd take the shot, and then 9 hours later, he'd be, snorting every powder he could come across, drinking, everything. And he couldn't because of his people-pleasing nature. Now, bring us back up.
Now, here's my thing. I love to people please. I do. I like, especially if we go out, like Rich will tell you, like I have a blast of it. However, you have to have your bottom. Like, like no matter what.
I always have it.
I'm not going to get so smashed that when I go home, I can't, like hug my kids in case they wake up in the middle of the night, take care of them. Like, I think you have to have like a level where you're going to be okay. Like there's no problem being like, hey, buy me this shot and then just put it on the bar and then shoving it off. Like,
Okay.
I know plenty of people who are recovering that will put in old duels in a pint glass and sit at a bar all night long.
I'm not going to give up the person because I thought it was too smart. Somebody that everybody here knows that is known as a huge party person. He came out to a beach bar that I worked at, and he came up to the bartenders at the beginning of the day and he said, everybody's going to try to buy me a shot. You say yes every time. You charge them every time. I drink Jägermeister. You are going to fill the shot glass up 2/3 with water and 1/3 with Jägermeister.
Smart move.
Nobody will know. You'll get your money. They're going to have the time of their lives, and I won't die.
It's a smart move. As someone who bartended, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, no, it was great. We made a ton of money. He made people's. There are probably still stories about partying with this person. Yeah.
I think there's something to all these stories of people. Like, I don't think whoever that person is, I don't think they're the first person to come up with that story.
No.
And also, I know many stories more around professional wrestlers. Like, I know a few stories of like, I don't want to give away a name, but a guy who used to like swing a 2x4 and like where he would tell a story of like this guy drank from like 3 p.m. to like 3 a.m. And I mean drank. And I'm like, did he? Like, I wonder if there was like those little get-arounds with bartenders. By the way, God bless him, makes no matter what, everyone around him had a blast of a story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't an a-hole. He was fun and respectful the entire way through. Not a bad guy.
That's awesome.
And the bar made them money. So I think that's a win for everybody.
Yeah.
Not to go all like Cliff Clavin here, but that's actually how the Gibson Martini got invented. With the cocktail onions. The guy, his name was Gibson. The story goes that like he would have to go out to these like martini lunches, and like he just did not like alcohol, and so what he would do is he would go to the bartenders beforehand and be like, okay, you're gonna water mine down, so I want it to be like mostly water, and well, how are we gonna know which one is yours? Because it was like it would be these business lunches, and they would just bring them all to the table. He's like, okay, well, instead of olives, put in cocktail onions.
That's genius. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no one's gonna want that. 2 bowls of onions in a drink. Pass.
No, man, I'll take a dirty martini with 3 olives and a cocktail, an onion. That extra taste. I'm all about it.
All right, now we're gonna change this.
It's got to be gin. Got to be gin.
Hour, we're just gonna do cocktail drinks. That's all we're gonna do for the next hour. Yeah.
Got to be gin. Can't be vodka.
All right, guys. The next time we do this show, I think we have to all show up with your own specific cocktail. Doesn't have to be alcoholic either, because like.
Yeah, no. We definitely. You can come in and be a teetotaler. You just have to come with your kombucha or your green tea or your water or whatever. But no, I like this. It's smooth, and by the end of the night,
1,000 stories is yeah.
That I mean, it's that I mean, whatever. But by the end of the night, I'm not going. You know, I can stay decent.
Rich has been around me many times where I've had many nights of, fun, shall we say, adult fun. I am a big fan lately of the Apothecary. The Apothic White. I drink a lot of.
Okay,
white.
I've had that. I've had it in red. It's good.
I just had the red the other day. Not bad.
Yeah. I feel like, and pardon me while I'm trying to bring this to the drinking crowd, so I can. There we go. Pouring it in. There we go. It's very nice, lovely. I think that overall, white doesn't bother me at all as much as red does. Red wine does, like the next day, like kind of hit me a little.
Red has more of those tannins in it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
See, my problem was the first time I ever really, really, really drank. My buddy worked at a grocery store, and the way we got it is he took a case of Chardonnay and put it out the back of the grocery store, and we drove up and took it.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. I'm not going to say it on camera because maybe those kind of things happen to me. Maybe they didn't. But I will say that we used to throw things like cases of beer and stuff like that in garbage bags.
Oh.
Maybe.
It could happen.
And we used to throw them out the back and be like, oh, I got to go take these out to the garbage. And then all of a sudden you have 3 cases of, Natty Light in your trunk, like a gentleman. Like
yes, like a gentleman.
Pinkies were out. We were being gentlemen about it.
So yeah, we knew that you played drinking games, right? We were like 15, 16. No, 16 because I drove over to my buddies, and we played 21. And if you lost 21, you drank. We did not know that if we each drank a bottle of Chardonnay for our first time drinking, that his mom would find out because of my vomit on the ceiling of the bathroom. That was how she knew there was a party, because she said, because you did not clean the vomit off of the ceiling. So I'm not so good with white wine, even 30 years later.
We're going to be coming to Kickstarter with. It's called Drinking Stories.
I think there's an anthology coming out called Stupid Kids.
Yeah.
That story is going to go way deep. Now I have a question for all of you, just out of curiosity. Is there any current creator
that we hate? Yeah. Oh wait, no, sorry.
But just a current creator that you you look at and you say, man, I see a lot of things they're doing, because it just got announced, right? I don't know if you're sensitive to the dates of when we're recording this, but it was a day or two after Scott Snyder's big announcement on Comixology.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be printed by Dark Horse. It's all going to come out through Comixology, and that's a really big switch up for distribution and storytelling. So to all of you guys, do you think that we're on the verge of this new like maybe like just like distribution platform. Like, I mean, I know digital is already a platform that's existed, but do you think that there's something else coming when, obviously a big name creator can do a lot more than, indie creators can, but at the same time, they pave a way to draw more people to other outlets?
There's certainly, I mean, Diamond shut down for 2 months last year without any respect for the comic shops or the publishers. So I think that has to be some change and some thought on how the publishers and the comic shops can be more nimble and versatile so that one entity can't do that. I'm not smart enough to know what it is, but yes, Scott Snyder bringing attention to comiXology is certainly big for Scott Snyder and comiXology. I'm not sure if it's big for the rest of us.
I think it's big for comic readers.
I hope so.
Right? Like he did a big thing where he's bringing like, massive art people to his, like, I know a lot of people like to maybe I'm wrong. People like to poop on, and I don't know why I said poop when I dropped all the other curse words. They like to poop on other people's creative endeavors. Like a lot of people will say things negatively, online about everybody. So I've had people destroy my artwork online, which I personally find funny. So if you're listening to this, please continue to poop on me. I have no problem. But like when you see people like a Mark Millar, a Scott Snyder, a Stephen King, a Joe Hill, they just put out books that they want to put out, and they put them out with top talent, and then they let the market decide. I think there's something to that. And I think what Scott Snyder's kind of digging into is doing that with kind of like a doubling down of like, you know what? And if Diamond shuts down or if printing shuts down, I have that other immediately built-in, outlet to get the stories out to people.
Yeah, and I mean, Scott Snyder did a Kickstarter last year that was extraordinarily successful, and to his credit, I think he left the landscape nicer than it was when he came in. Like, he didn't come in and throw shoulders against little guys. He came in, and I saw his updates. I did not have a campaign at the time, and I was jealous of people who did, because here was Scott Snyder putting up campaigns in his update that had 80 backers, and I was like, that's cool. So he's obviously a guy, and I've never met him. I've heard nothing but good things about him as a person. I think he actually might be the guy that's doing this a little bit for that. He might be kind of like, well, whatever I write's going to sell, no matter who puts it out. Now he's smart enough to let comiXology pay his artists to make the book happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have a Scott Snyder jock, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo. That Greg Capullo Scott Snyder book. I mean, I don't know the numbers obviously on comiXology. I'm going to say that's probably going to be one of their biggest books. And then if people log in and jump on that, they're going to follow the Francavilla book. Just as an art fan, Dan Panosian, I don't think there's a better artist out there than Dan Panosian, who's unbelievable, and he's doing like a horror Western book. Like, if my wallet was in this room, I would throw it at my camera right now and say, "Take my money," because he's that good. Yeah, Danny, I'm reading your comment right now. Scott Snyder is genuinely like from New York. I'm Queens. He's Long Island. I don't know him, never met the guy. However, I have never heard a bad thing about him. And from all my buddies that have worked with him or worked tangentially with him, and all the retailers that know him, like, yeah, he great guy. And I think like that's what comic needs, right? Comics needs people, kind of like being ambassadors for the medium, unfortunately, because what the publishers don't do is where creators need to step in and do. And I think the Image guys did it like a whole bunch of years ago, where they were just like, hey, we're going to come forward and do a whole bunch more stuff, and we're going to start doing more signings, and we're going to start doing that. And I'd really be so super curious to know if that's where signings and meeting people and all that kind of stuff took off more. Because as a kid, I know that there was stuff obviously before. There was conventions, there was smaller conventions, there was signings. But I remember as a kid, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, like when Eric Larson, when those guys did a signing, it was like Beatles-esque. Like you would go somewhere, lines around the block, and I mean, I'm in Manhattan, lines around the block. And I wonder if that's what kind of, started more. I mean, obviously Image started a creative revolution, but like Scott Snyder and all creators going forward just kind of follow that up. Like you just try to get people to come out and meet you and obviously with COVID, like masks on and shake a hand, but just get to be able to speak to someone, pitch them your story, and hope that they'll pick up your books in the future. And I don't see anything bad about it. And I think Scott Snyder is building on that and kind of doing a double indemnity where he's like, oh, I have digital as my background. Like I don't have to worry about printing and printing press and all that stuff. And I just get my stories out there no matter what.
Yeah, Scott's he's a great guy and also very like the thing I like love about him is he's very giving with like his advice if you have like specific questions and educating, like he's like starting to do like videos, and I think he's going to be like teaching a course soon or something, just about like helping creators, and I think like it's like we all have like stuff to learn, like I have stuff to learn, like everybody does, and it's just great to know that like there's somebody who's been so successful in the business that's willing to take some of their time to help people out. And he is very like I mean he's very busy, but like he is very like willing to like kind of give time and attention as much as he can. So he's a great dude, and I'm like really happy for him. And I think it's just like a monumental kind of announcement to like announce like 8 titles at once, and each one of them has like a top flight creative team. It's like it's pretty insane. So in a good way.
I don't know.
Nocturna comes out. Nocturna is doing better in sales issue after issue. And for this to be dropped now, there's no better time for him. There's no better time for comic fans. Like if you're into his stuff, this is going to be gigantic.
Yeah.
I think that the direct market is going to look vastly different in a couple of years. I mean, the pandemic showed the stress points of a lot of different systems, right? And comics was no different. And you said that Diamond just said, "Hey, we're shutting down, and we don't care what the publishers are doing. We don't care what the shops are doing." I don't think that's going to be forgotten. And the direct market has been, at least number of shops wise, been shrinking for quite a while. But there's this huge other market, like Scholastic and all these other places that, comics can, I think, really make inroads into. And I just don't know how to do it. I don't know. I mean, you look at the sales of somebody like Raina
Telgemeier.
How do you? Yeah, I mean, doing books for Scholastic that put the what is the normal selling book or a great selling book in the direct market? It's like 100,000. Or
that's a phenomenal selling book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And she's doing millions. I mean, like, but her books are good, and there's a reason. My daughter has every book she makes, and she just like she'll go in the corner and start reading them, and all I hear is giggling, and I mean, it's amazing.
How old's your daughter?
She's 12.
Okay, so I have a 9-year-old who about a year ago got into all of Raina's books. I have a 7-year-old who is like obsessed with Dogman.
Oh, cool.
Dave Pilkey is like
Yeah.
God in my house. And Will, to your comment, I think the direct market is very easily accessible as long as you're easily accessible to retailers. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone jumped in.
Yeah, I was just
Jeff? Okay.
saying that I do think that the direct market is probably gonna have to evolve, have to change. I had an idea for a model for a business model for comics. I don't know if this would ever work, but the idea that I had was I would love to see direct market retailers be able to take the print on demand technology into their brick and mortar and be able to like print comics for the customers that are there in the shop while they're there. So like they don't have to like take a chance on every every single comic that in the catalog that they can't afford to order one of everything. The customer could flip through and be like, oh, this looks cool, print this one for me.
Well, but it's not only that. It's like if you like, Big Two does their job, which is rightfully so, to say, oh, if you want this, Joe Mulvey cover, you have to order 700 or 7,000 issues of X-Men.
Speak it into the universe, Joe Mulvey. Use the secret.
Yeah, they do that. But the real truth of it is like, I feel like retailers are the greatest ambassadors of comics. Mm-hmm. And when they go out there and they take their own money and they rent a space and they open it up and they take the time to fill the store with the books that they think are worthwhile, and obviously they're all articulated to whatever the taste of the owner is. When you then reach out with an email or a phone call or whatever, you build a relationship, and that relationship is based on trust, respect, and deliverance. And not the movie where you squeal like a pig, but I mean like where you deliver a book that they would be proud to sell, you're proud to sell, and their customers are happy to buy. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes, as an independent creator, and I myself am guilty of this as well, you kind of get lost in the well of, I have to try to send out 1,000 press releases and try to talk to all these people to get the books out. And the bottom line is, you need to deal with retailers, and you need to deal with them in the way that, yes, you've done all this work and you've done all this monumental stuff to get the book even to print or even to Kickstarter or even to wherever. But then there's got to go that extra yard where you want to work with the retailer to sell that book. And you want to give them the best tagline. You want to give them maybe some extra stuff for them to give away. You want to give them, like, I'll reach out and say, like, hey, hold on. Danny's saying Scout and Mad Cave have done a ton of individual creators have done this so far. Danny, and that's great. Like, I think that's what needs to be done. Yeah. Well, Danny, then I have to get in touch with you because as a comic shop guy and as a creator of Happy Hill with Rich, like, we want to earn every inch of space we get on your shelves. You're
going to be in Orlando in what, you say, February?
No, I think it's November.
November. All right.
Yeah. So that's the hope. Fingers crossed. But I mean, like, I think, like, sometimes we think the Herculean effort is just getting the book done. Mm-hmm. When, yeah, that's still a Herculean effort. But guess what? Throw that second boulder up on your shoulders because you gotta get it out to the retailers. And Rich and I have a PR team that we're working with to get out the word of Happy Hill. And the person I've spoken with is like, you're not like most people where you want to talk and you want to go out. And I'm like, no, put me wherever you want. You want to put me on, like, you want to send me in the middle of an ocean on a barge that's got fireworks shooting off the sides and give me a microphone, I'm game. Because I really do want to, like, I think everyone that I work with, I think, deserves to have a bigger platform. I think Rich should be one of the bigger writers in comics. I think that Hassan is one of the most groundbreaking and best letterers in comics. And I think Chris Sotomayor is hands down one of the most elite colorists in comics. They all make me look better. I am by far the weaker link of the group, but I'm happy about that because I'm the loudest, so I don't mind being obnoxious and you know and talking all that much. All right, Danny, I will do your show. If there's a show that will boost sales, I will do it. Unless heard me and you're like, maybe not so much. Shut it down.
This is partially just for Danny to make cutoffs. So
yeah, this is a tryout. I get it, and I failed.
Yeah, no, I think Joe, like what you're saying about community is you know, I mean about like building relationships and stuff is really important because it is like I think for me the most important thing about the direct market is like kind of that building that community. Like I know it's the sort of thing like you hear over and over again like you know there's less stores, business is shrinking, the market is in trouble, and it's like it may be true that there are like less stores, but I do know that like my local shop, and I've been to a lot of shops that are really thriving, and the way they do that is by like building, you know, a community among their customers and creators and things like that. It's like, you know, like people go to my store like Eastside Mags in Montclair, like, and it's like I'll just go and like we'll hang out and talk, and you know, what are you reading? What are you reading? I think it's like the shops I think that are starting to get left behind are the ones that are like really kind of clinging very much to the old like Simpsons like Android's Dungeon kind of model of like, you know, not being like a very welcoming place for someone who hasn't been going there for like 20 years already. But the stores that are like doing really well, and at least just from my experience, are the ones that are really looking to like kind of make themselves like a welcoming destination for people to come in.
Well, I can give Danny like props. You know, I went into his shop, never been there, and there were probably either 9 pairs or, you know, tripods of people going around, and almost every one of the pairs were talking to each other either about comics or about, you know, Magic or D&D, or my kid is getting into this packet of things. And, you know, I watched Danny just go, hold on 1 second. And he went over and grabbed one of the, I think a Magic player, and was like, okay, so can you explain to them so that his daughter gets exactly what she wants, where she wants. And so this customer is like, okay, so the green packet, you know, like this is a little bit out there for me, but I was like, that is exactly what I want in a store, because, you know, my daughter's 12. She's getting a little bit into manga, a little bit into anime. I know that, you know, 50% of that is perfectly great. And I know that 50% of that I better watch or read before I allow in her, you know, mindset, because I remember an anime in college with, you know, like 70-foot penises knocking over buildings, and, you know, that scares me. And so, but I was just like, yeah,
hold on, wait.
Yeah, okay, so there is an anime with gigantic penises destroying Tokyo. I couldn't tell you what it is.
Kakamanga?
I don't know.
All right,
but and that is true. I didn't make it up. I wish I was smart enough to make up something like that.
That is not
okay. But that's what I saw in Danny's store, and I'm like, that's what I want comic shops to be. It was open. It was, communication wasn't like, the guy didn't know what he was talking about, and he wasn't shot down. He wasn't kicked out. And so I just wanted to put that out, that's the shop that Danny's created. And I think that's the shops that will move forward, whatever this next distribution is, those people that create community. And it was lovely to see.
Do you think that, like, I mean, maybe 5-10 years from now, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4 like real big chains of comic stores?
I hope not.
Really? I feel like I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I feel like right now we don't have that. It's like
We
like
had
Bar-
Books a Million. We had Borders. They had comics.
no, they had. I mean,
Yeah.
look. Do you know what Third Eye Comics is? Third Eye in like Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I've
Third
heard
Eye
of it, but
is a very big
it.
shop. Third Eye has a look. Third Eye has like multiple shops. Same as Maximum in Vegas and like the Nevada area. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think it's. Oh, really, Danny? Danny, you might as well just get on here. I feel like I'm reading your things, but like I just wonder if that's what's going to happen. Like, and I'm not pro or I'm not
Yeah.
against or for either way. I'm just asking the question. Like, I think that my point is, I think that comics builds community in its best stores because I know
Yes.
the shops that I have. Like my local shop is Royal Collectibles in Forest Hills, Queens, and when you go there, you have a family that owns it, a family that runs it. I walk in with before I had kids, I walked in by myself, obviously. Now I walk in with my kids, and they suit certain areas to the ages that come in,
Mhm.
and you as an adult with kids and whatever, you feel very comfortable. You feel like you're doing a good thing walking in, and like that your entertainment interests are going to be met.
Mhm.
And I think that's what comic shops need to do. And like Kevin had said like a little while ago, like you can't go into like these dungeon like places, and it's got to be it's a marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Like same thing as if you go to a convention and someone has like 10 dirty tissues and a pencil on a table and then a book, you're going to be like, you know what? I might pass on that. But if they have a nice presentation, then you stop at that table. And if then you're, a conversive person like myself or the rest of you guys, you might have a conversation with that person. You like appearance in that way matters. But the only thing I wonder is, can you ever, my answer is yes, but can you ever trump, the table next to you has Batman, but you have Happy Hill. Can Happy Hill trump Batman? And in my mind is yes, because I can sell it in a way that'll do it. But I would say most people would say probably no.
I think it's cool that so many, the majority of the shops in the comic retail landscape are these, independent, mom and pop shops. I think we're kind of a unique industry in that it is dominated by independently owned retail.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad.
No,
a good thing.
I hear what you're saying. So here's what worries me about not Third Eye and Maryland. I don't want to put them out there, but say there's this conglomerate comics that has 19 stores in every state in the United States, and they tell their managers that you're going to buy 38 Batman comics, 27 Superman comics, 19 X-Men comics, 18 Spider-Mans, 4 Fables, and that's it. You're not going to go past page 101 of the Diamond catalog. There's less ability to cater to the actual audience that walks in, because I know, we all know, we've been on convention floors. If a guy walks past me wearing a Hulk fighting the Thing t-shirt, unless I have nobody else in my line of sight, I might let that guy go. But if I see a guy walk past in a Brown shirt or a Buffy shirt, or, I know that I've got a book that kind of came from the DNA of what that guy already likes, and I'm going to try to reel him in. Where I want stores that are small enough to know their clientele, to know that they like horror, so they want Happy Hill or Rotobones, or they like space. Their clientele likes space shit. So you like space stuff? Well, I got Bug Hunt. Let's try it out. Whereas I do fear huge Books a Million type comic shops not having that freedom to cater to the people that actually are coming in on Wednesdays and giving us an opportunity, because we do not keep the lights on. Hulk, X-Men,
No.
Spider-Man keep the lights on.
Okay, no, we don't keep the lights on right now.
Sure.
But let me just say this. If someone walks in front of me and they have a Thing fighting Mobius shirt, and I know that's not a real shirt, but whatever it is,
It'd be a cool shirt.
I don't give a flying rat's ass what you walk in front of me with.
Yeah.
You walk in front of me, I could sell you something. That's the way I have to approach it. Like, I do not care what you have. I want to talk to you as a human being. I want to talk to you and say, maybe that's not even your shirt.
Wait, I'm going to stop you for 1 second. When 18 people are walking you from different directions, what do? Because that's what I'm saying. I'm talking New York Comic Con when it's busy, and you got to take your best shot. So don't take it that I'm not going to talk to somebody.
No.
Who's just walking past, because I'll talk to everybody. Okay. But I'm talking when it's.
I get it 100%. What I make it is that you have to stop at my table, and you know what I put on my table to make you stop? Candy. Now I do. I put candy on my table, but
of course,
yeah, I do, and Rich knows. But what I will say is this: I just want that 1 second of pause to make a conversation. Now, I'm sometimes guilty of already being in a conversation or talking to someone else or talking to an editor or talking to a writer, or not even being at the table. That's all 100% possibility. Right. But like in the realm of like being a creator that wants to sell to a retailer, if you're a retailer, there are certain people, like I think, and this is just a like pulling out of the air. I think it's like 716 or 718 is my area code. 716 Coffee and Comics. They have like is that, am I right?
Pulp, 716 Pulp.
Pulp, yes.
Buffalo, yeah.
Yes. They have a great way of bringing in people. They're selling coffee. What a great way of bringing people into it. Like I've always wanted to open up a comics cafe. And I live, like I said, in Queens, and I've looked at many locations to actually do that, to open up a comic shop and cafe and bar, because I think that all of it kind of like breeds comics. Like if people want to have this many arguments on Twitter, have it in the bar. I'd love to have it in the bar. Right, David, I agree 100%. And when we put out Happy Hill, if they stock it, which I'm very hopeful they will, I plan to go up there and do a signing. And I know it is way the hell away from me, but I would be more than happy. And Rich doesn't know this already, but I'm going to roofie him and carry him in a backpack all the way there. We're going there. Because
huge indie and huge horror. So I think you got a good shot of them.
All right. I feel really good about it. But like, I feel like those are the shops you support. And I mean, like, I'm not saying I would never not support any shop. I would support any shop. But like, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. You have to build the community.
Well,
and I think that's what Kickstarter does as well.
Yeah, Danny put in something that if this is where all we can do is say thank you, because that's the extra effort with that. Like, so thank you, Danny. That's huge.
You know, I feel like the direct market is kind of an impediment, though. And by direct market, I mean specifically Diamond, because they're not built for indie creators. I mean, you look at the previous catalog; they're built for the big five, right? And that's basically everything else is kind of an afterthought.
Well, thankfully, Marvel and DC seem to be getting out of the way of that. So, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks. I guess. I mean, I've always kind of hoped that comics would get out of having to be sold in comic shops and be sold more like in bookstores and lots of places instead of this one place that you had to go. And I don't know that that's ever coming back, because when you get right down to it, the direct market was a life raft, right? It was a life raft for superhero comics. And it has became this diamond monopoly because of weird decisions, 30 years ago. But comics, if you're willing to pay, you're absolutely.
Yeah.
We're indie creators.
Yeah.
Money? What is this money thing you speak of? I don't
You know what?
understand.
That ad does not matter. Like if you actually reach out to your retailers and you make them aware of your book and you call them and you email them, that is worth 10 times as much as the actual time that no retailer is going to look at a huge full page preview ad and be like, oh man, these people went out and paid whatever the amount of money they paid to get this allotment. And I'm going to go buy that book because they paid that money. If they don't buy the hook on that page, they ain't buying the book. I don't think that's actually, the ad does dick. Thank you, David. It's true. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. And I think that like, when do you think indie comics ever did their best?
I think
as
now
a
is the
whole,
golden age.
as a whole, or any individual property.
The black and white boom.
Yeah,
That's what I was
I'm thinking
86,
Turtles.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Turtles.
Turtles, Mage, Grendel, but
Mhm.
Flaming Carrot. But that's my guess.
Well,
I don't know.
You'd all be wrong. Image is definitely the number one thing because that's built
You're right. I just don't even consider them
you're all
indie
right.
anymore.
Jeff started off like the black and white boom was definitely huge.
Well, during the black and white boom, every single person who could put together a black and white self-published comic could reasonably expect to sell 5,000 to 10,000 copies.
Dude, almost 50,000. Like those numbers were bonkers, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I agree. If you're
it
gonna,
was crazy, and I agree with that. But do you think that they sold it like?
Shops were buying them like crazy because no shop wanted to miss out on the next Ninja Turtles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was a commodity type thing, right? Like,
right.
and I also think that's why the 90s boom happened because everyone's like, oh, if I buy, the gold Spawn variant, like maybe it'll be worth $1 million in like 10 years.
Mhm.
I get that like speculator market, but no matter what, there's two differences. During the image boom, the creators pushed their own stuff. During the black and white boom, it was actually based on material, right? Like it was like, go look at all these things like Grendel and all this, like
They're good. Yeah.
right. It was just a good book that everyone spoke about and everyone had to go get, or at least a comic, like obviously not everyone, but I mean like comic fans had to go get. I think the next boom has to be an amalgam of the two. It has to be a book that the creators are super excited to go out and talk about. But at the same time, comic shops, retailers, and purchasers are all out of their mind crazy about, like, you got to pick up this book. Like, dude, did you read issue 2 of Bug Hunt? No. And I'm not saying it happens like in a drop. Like, did you read issue 2 of Bug Hunt? No, I didn't see issue 1. All of a sudden, like, it could be a gradual, like, slow build, but it's got to be something that's built with all three facets involved. It's got to be the retailers are backing it. It's got to be the creators are willing to invest in it and put it out as much as possible, and that the people want to see it. I think that's, I mean, I could be wrong, and I normally am. I have a 99% chance of being wrong.
So here's what I think about marketing an indie comic. I think that we were always pushing a snowball up a hill and hoping that the snowball gets bigger and bigger, but not so big that it pushes us backwards. Yeah. It's getting to the cliff and pushing a big enough snowball off. And I go between feeling like I'm about to fall backwards and feeling like I'm also never going to get to the top of the cliff. And that's okay because, we're still working, but that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, we're using Kickstarter to start building our communities, or we're building communities and we're taking them to Kickstarter so that we can, hopefully break even on a book. Yay. And get the books out there, right?
I'm going
But-
to interrupt for 1 second, Will. Yes, Danny, we can all make sure that happens.
Yes. That's
Danny,
yes,
I'm going to take this
definitely.
time to announce my retirement from comics. Will never come out.
Rich, you're going to have to go to Rich for Happy Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to be drawing the rest of it. I'm excited.
But what's I mean, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but the number one publisher that I buy comics from right now, it's called Kickstarter. Right? I buy a ton of indie books, and maybe retailers need to get together, or Kickstarter needs to allow a place for retailers so that maybe we can hook that up. I know that completely cuts out Diamond, but I still feel like Diamond is not the best for indie creators, and at times openly hostile, to indie creators.
Well, in fairness, at the beginning of Kickstarter, a lot of creators didn't deliver. So there were a bunch of shops that put $50 into whatever property, because we all know that Kickstarters comics are delivered pretty well right now. I've rarely had comics not delivered in the last 2 or 3 years. But that 2013 to 2015, where it was kind of the Wild West, a lot of shops got burned. So I'm going to say it's not the shop's fault. It's our fellow creators who either bit off more than they chewed, or were actual con artists.
And let's just be honest, when you don't do that, you spoil the pool for everyone else. Like when you do that, you leave a bad taste in any backer's mouth, whether they're 10-year veterans or it's their first back project. That's a bad look for all of us.
Well, I mean, look at the disclaimer that. Sorry, I talk a lot with my hands, so you can't see them. But the disclaimer that Kickstarter's put up, once you back a project, rewards are not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
If they're, that looks really cool, the collective initiative. But if you back my campaign, and then you're going to get your stuff unless I'm dead, right? I mean, that's stuff comes up, I know, and there are a lot of creators that have really great and valid reasons to not be able to deliver on time, but I don't know that there's any good reason not to deliver ever.
Yeah. No, there's not, but people give up, or were just at the beginning. There were a couple conners. I got taken by a couple. Thankfully I don't remember their names anymore. Although if they ever come back, I hope I do. But I think some people just, what's easier than making a comic? I'll get I'll get $800 and I'll make 4,000 copies and I'll be a millionaire. And
it's the Bitcoin of comics, dude.
Yeah.
The thing I really love about Kickstarter and crowdfunding is that it's as opposed to trying to go through the Diamond, is it really lowered the threshold for what a creator needed to do to make his comic viable, or his or her comic viable. Like you can have a comic audience that's maybe just 50 people, and half of those are your parents and aunt and uncle, and you're still going to be able to do what you needed to do to get it done, to get it out there.
But there's this thing, like my Twitter buddy Doug Michelle. He did this comic Monkey Squad 1, and he drew it himself. He went to Kinko's, he printed it out, he stapled it, and he would not take any money. He would just send it to you, and it was like these 50-cent comics, and they were great. And he kickstarted once. Somebody convinced him to it, and he never did it again because it ruined it for him. Getting money for him ruined the comic experience. And I had to laugh, but I loved the pure form that Monkey Squad 1 was this, a lot of us say punk rock, but Monkey Squad 1 was fucking punk rock. And you know, like, so you can run the gamut. You can have a $1 campaign if you're going to go to Kinko's and do it. You don't have to pretend you're doing a you know, like a black label, a DC Black Label type book. Just fucking put your book on Kickstarter. But you know what? Deliver the book, because you're ruining it for the rest of us if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting to the bottom of the wine, so I might say some shit, man.
Shit's gonna get real.
Drop the heat, but no matter what, I have Ted Lasso episode 2 waiting for me, so I have to go at some point.
Hey, listen, we've been over 2 hours. My goal for tonight was to keep it as a tight 1 hour. And
that worked really well. You know, worked really well.
But I think it was a blast. I'm going to put this for David. Put up. Being a diamond does not make a book readable. That is accurate. It's not necessarily arbiter of quality, although those of us that have been in it can pretend it is, but you're right, it's not. It's just luck more than quality. I'm gonna say, everybody, let's do a quick 30-second pitch of, we'll do Happy Hill first.
Rich, come on.
So Happy Hill, it's a new horror book from Joe Mulvey and me and Chris Sotomayor and Hassan Mitzmani El-Hal, and it is hilarious.
The greatest book that has ever seen print in this world. It makes Watchmen look like the printed version of Murder, She Wrote. It is embarrassing to everyone else who's ever made a comic. Sorry, Rich. You go ahead.
There you go.
There you go, Jeff. Let's talk. Let's hear about Bug Hunt.
Okay, Bug Hunt is action sci-fi adventure. If you always wanted to see Die Hard in space, starring Indiana Jones being attacked by the robots from the Tom Selleck movie Runaway.
Nice.
And it's amazing, and I backed it 7 times during this conversation.
You just kept canceling his pledge and then repledging. That's
Runaway with villain Gene Simmons.
I love and I hate all at the same time.
I thought I had expunged that movie from my brain pan, but thanks, guys.
But why would you? It has bullets that follow you around alleys. It's the greatest movie ever. So, Will, tell us about Crossover Division and how happy you are to have funded tonight.
awesome.
Oh, I am so happy. We hit 2 of my secret goals, which was we hit over 6K and over 200 backers. So Crossover Division is thank you.
Congrats, dude.
I love Kickstarter. It's awesome. Crossover Division is let's see, the walls between. I'm trying to remember what I wrote here. It's late. The walls between our fictions and reality are breaking down, and only a research librarian and an English professor can save us from an unhappy ending. How about that?
All right. I love it. I love being able to play in these works of art that some I've read and some I haven't. So it's fun. All right. And I'm Kevin. I had a blast. This is twice we've done this. I kind of hope to keep doing it even long after I don't have a Kickstarter, but I do. So if you want to check out Tart, the time-traveling demon hunter, she wakes up at the beginning of each adventure without any idea where she is or when in time she is, but she knows there's a demon causing trouble, and it is up to her to stop it. So if you like Doctor Who, Buffy, Sandman, you might like this. And Will, Jeff, Rich, Joe, I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your personalities, wit, and wisdom. And David, Danny, Shawnee, Charlie, God, if I missed anybody in the chat, I apologize. But thank you, because your questions and comments, I feel like make this, Joey, make this fun. So I hope to see you next week for a little more selfish. This is my last day of my campaign, and I'm going to fucking talk about Tart.
Wait, give me, I don't know if I even backed it. So go ahead, give me the name again one more time.
Tart. Here, I'll share it. I'll share it. Da, 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 da.
Tart, Find the Lost City of Atlantis.
That you got it.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
6 days to go. I'm backing right now.
Oh, you're the
Which is
man.
a,
Thank you, Joe.
beautiful issue where Kevin tried some cool stuff and really pulled it off. And Ludo, of course, always awesome.
All right, there we go. I back.
We got to tell this story in two different perspectives. We got the way the people see Tart and the way Tart sees herself, and we got to play with perspective and take a little bit of an experiment, and we had a blast. And I'll wait for all the readers to tell us if it worked.
I made a 3D print for Tart.
Yes, you did, and I've got to get the glasses to Ever. Yeah, Jeff said I got an idea. Can I do this? And I was like, yeah. And I've got like 50 prints of them sitting here, and I never got the glasses because I'm a lazy doofus. So I apologize, Jeff, but it looks really cool.
Speaking of 3D, I just want to give a quick shout out to my friend Thane Benson. He has a comic called Quick the Clockwork Knight, and his I think it's the last day on his campaign, and it's in 3D, and I'm doing the 3D conversion for it.
Cool.
Nice.
I feel like Jeff is all over the place. I feel like he's making us feel very lazy.
Nah, Jeff's just, there's just some good souls in this world, and Jeff just happens to be one of them.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I appreciate you coming out and making my Friday night a lot of fun. So, good night.
Thanks so much, dude. Appreciate you guys inviting me.
Thanks. Night,
Yeah.
everyone.
Good night, guys.